Just like, hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Cheat Sheet. I almost said a different show name here because, I do a different
Shame.
show.
How many shows do you do?
Yeah.
I do a different show in the morning, and I almost said the name of that show instead of this one. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Cheat Sheet. I'm Marcas Grant, joined by Michael F. Florio and LaQuan Jones. Yeah, man. Glad you guys could be with us here on the stream. We're always happy to have folks. A little bit of a, I won't say a different show because the show is very different. It is. This show has no real rhyme or reason or anything to it, but we hang out here for a little while and give you some fantasy football news along with just some random chatter. But start with Florio. I texted you a couple days ago because it looked for sure like the path was open and clear for the New York Knickerbockers to move on to these two conference finals. You guys are just trying to win it at home. That's all that is, right?
I think so. I hope so. This is what the Knicks do, right? Like they had an opportunity to close out Detroit, and it took 2 games. They had an opportunity last year to close out Philly. It took 2 games. They had game 3. They could have, they get too comfortable when things are easy, and they're like, this should be a lot harder for us, so we're going to make it harder for us. I was so ready to come on here and have so much fun. After all the stuff Boston people have said all series long, but now I got to bite my tongue until Friday. I will say this, though. Friday night is the biggest Knick game in 25 years at MSG, and it's on a Friday night. There's going to be mayhem in the streets if they win.
If they win, the city is going to be up for grabs.
Batman better be ready because he's going to be needed.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Well, as for me, basketball season ended last night in Minneapolis, so we're on to baseball and fantasy football drafts and stuff. That's all.
Yes, sir.
That's it. Got a few things to go over. We're gonna have our edition of the film festival. We watched Havoc with Tom Hardy on the recommendation of LaQuan, so we will dive into that. There's some other football-related movie news, too, want to get into a little bit as well. Also going to have your questions. If you got any questions, throw them in the chat. We will answer as many of them as we can, or at least as many as that we feel interested in answering. Look, it's not an endless show. We got things to do. But want to start with what was the biggest news in the NFL on Wednesday, and that was schedule release.
Yes, sir.
I know we already know who the opponents are. We've known that for months now, but now we have dates, times, and locations for all of these games. And I don't know how much. We can be honest here, right? How much schedule release content did you guys engage with yesterday?
I was sleeping, catching up on some much needed sleep. Woke up to a whole bunch of schedule release videos. I watched a couple, and that was about it. That was it for me. I don't know what else to do with it,
No, I think that's fair. How about you, Florio? I mean, you were probably locked in with the Knicks, so probably not so
Yeah,
much.
it was in the midst of the Knicks, so we already, I said on the pod the other day, I look for a couple things, right? International, I did check the TNF and the Monday Night Football games, and I will say, I know it's May, TNF looks pretty juicy this year.
Yeah.
And then I checked the Bills, and I saw that we get Bills-Ravens week 1, and that war is going to continue. But that's all I really did. I know I see people trying to, put fantasy angles on it and stuff. I'm like, nah, I'm going to go watch the Knicks.
I mean, so that gives me to kind of a point, right? Because, I've been doing this for a while, and one of the things that was always a popular piece of content after schedule release was the strength of schedule analysis, right? Where people would try and determine oh man, the Cardinals schedule is really tough this year, or look at the Vikings, they have an easy schedule. I feel like we're past that now, right? Because yes. I think we realized that using last year's, win-loss record or using last year's fantasy points allowed and that sort of thing, it just makes no sense. Because everything's so different from year to year.
Yes, defenses change from week 1 to week 15 when injury, and so do offenses, right? Look how many quarterbacks have played in the last couple of years. Almost every team has had to have a backup quarterback play at least some portion of a game or something like that. So much changes, but I think not to take a shot here, I think the best ball bros are still deep in week 17. Let's get stacks against one another and stuff like that. And look, kudos to them. It could work for them. I am never
It might
one
work
who
for us.
Yeah, I'm not that guy though. I'm not sitting here being like, well, in week 17, like if they like, nah, because
I'm not building an entire roster based on week 17.
Well,
yeah,
it is a little bit of a guessing game for sure, right? Because the whole point being that you want to, for those of you who are uninitiated, maybe don't play a lot of best ball leagues, because so many of them, it comes down to that final week, or you can kind of get yourself into a postseason or a playoff situation. It helps to have not only team stacks where you may have a quarterback and a wide receiver, quarterback, tight end, what have you, but also game stacks. So if you look at a late season schedule, look at a late season game, and you think, oh, this game's going to have a whole lot of points scored, you want to get players on both sides of that game. So for instance, I'm doing, let's say Cowboys Commanders, right, which is a week 17 day, a game on Christmas Day. If you really believe that you are going to have a whole lot of scoring in that game, then maybe you try to draft, Dak Prescott on one side and get, say, Terry McLaurin or Deebo Samuel on the other side so that you are represented on both sides of that game. To the point, it doesn't always work out. Doesn't always work out that way.
No, because injuries. That's why I'm like, I can't look that far. They even try to think like, oh, let me get Dak and then Terry McLaurin that week. And then it's like, well, Terry McLaurin's injured, knock on wood, week 5. Dak is injured again because it's kind of been every other season. This guy needs surgery. So it's like, I don't even want to think like that. I want to have fun, like make fantasy fun again. Like I really miss my home league, like being in person with the live drafts and just building rosters and just having fun, man, and just not think so hard and extra about things that I cannot control.
It's funny you say that, right? Because I wonder, for those of us who do this, I mean, for the majority of people who play fantasy football, they're in a couple of leagues, they're in home leagues or office leagues or what have you, and that is kind of the basis of it. For those of us who do this and have found ourselves over the years, suddenly drafting double-digit, maybe in some cases triple-digit numbers of teams.
Jeez.
Hey, look, I mean, I know people who do like hundreds.
I've heard stories. I heard
leagues.
nightmares.
I do wonder at some point, is like, do you hit critical mass and you're just like, I don't really care about my home league now.
I care because it keeps me humble and it keeps me on my toes because I have one league mate that will draft a ton of Broncos players. And it's like, dude, you don't even watch Broncos games. You don't even know who you're starting right now, but you see that logo and you're just going to draft them. And it's like insane.
Yeah. I always tell people to play in home leagues. If you do this a lot, like I was like, hey, go back and play in a league with, more casual players.
they're more fun.
They're more fun for sure. Also, the draft is going to throw you upside down. Like you're just going to forget.
Yes. That's the most exciting part about it.
Right? Because when you draft with people who do this, like, nobody's really going to take a quarterback. Maybe they take one in the 3rd, but generally people are going to wait till at least the 5th or 6th round to get a quarterback. Like you kind of know how things are going to go.
Yeah.
Casual drafts are way different.
I'll go ahead, Florio.
Oh no, I always like my teams more in like leagues with other people who do this and stuff because I like the guys that I want, and these people they all like other players that they want and stuff. So I always find myself having an easier time getting the players I want. Like one in my home league, forget about it. Like they go out of their way to get the players that they know that I want. But like, yeah, in leagues like that, or even like other leagues that I do like with people who aren't as into this as we are, like those drafts are always the ones throwing me off because the expert drafts have so much rhyme or reason, and we all know ADPs and all of that like variance is kind of taken out the window.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I've watched Patrick Mahomes in my home league go in the 1st round 3 years in a row, and I don't know why, but it's just like okay, well, this is fun.
A couple years ago it made sense.
You know why? Bro, I mean,
it's going to happen again this year.
Because here's the thing, and the logic on its face makes sense, right? Quarterbacks score the most points. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback. Patrick Mahomes should go early. I mean, that's the logic, right? Like it's when you dig deeper into it and you start talking about positional values and all this roster construction. That's when you start to look and say, hey man, it just doesn't really make sense. But on its face, it makes perfect sense. It absolutely does, and that's why those sorts of things happen. And to your point, Florio, I've always said the world's greatest swordsman has nothing to fear from the world's second greatest swordsman. Because when you are at that level, you know the moves, right? Like you know sort of the moves and the strategies and what this other person may do. The person you have to fear is the person who doesn't know anything, is just wildly swinging a sword around, because there's no predictability to it. It's just pure chaos, and that's kind of what that is.
To completely change subjects, and Marcus, you'll appreciate this. LQ, I'm sorry, you won't. It's like in baseball, I never understand why like pitchers don't change like their motion like Johnny Cueto used to do it, but like I would be throwing from a different arm angle and motion, and I know I would take my winters and learn like every different pitch I could, because if you know I'm throwing the same 4 pitches the same way every time, it becomes so much easier for you to time it and hit it. And like to that point, that's always what I'm thinking with baseball stuff. On schedule though, I did want to say the NFL dropped the ball with one game.
What's that?
Why is Bears-Lions Week 2 a 1 p.m. game? Like that should be standalone.
That should be a standalone game.
But we get the standalone Monday night though with the Bears and Vikings though.
Yeah, I mean, but
that should be a 1 o'clock. I don't care about seeing them play.
Nah, come on.
I would love to see. I mean, I want to see Ben Johnson take on the Lions in prime time. Like that should be an island game. I think that'd be fun.
That is true. They did drop the ball on that.
Yeah. Speaking of the schedule, I mean, just a few things of note. Like, you can't necessarily build around them, but it seems like there's only one real bipocalypse this year.
Shout out NFL. They finally
they caught on to it.
Yeah, week 8. You got 6 teams on a bye: Cardinals, Lions, Jaguars, Raiders, Rams, Seahawks. We do though have 4 teams on a bye in week 14.
But even so, the NFL was like, you know what, fantasy players, we got you.
We're gonna get like there's the 49ers who should have a few pieces, but Panthers, Patriots, Giants. Chances are, if you're relying heavily on those teams to get you to the fantasy playoffs, you're probably not going to be in good shape.
Right. Bye weeks still matter, man. I still be drafting and looking like, all right, let me not get screwed by the bipocalypse.
Oh, really? See, I used to do that. I've stopped doing that, and like if it turns out that I have a week where I just have a whole bunch of dudes off, then
I remember one league I got hit back-to-back weeks. It was like 6 teams on bye, and then it was like 4 teams on bye, and then I got a group of like players that were just like, this is useless. I'm screwed.
Yeah, I will just take the. I mean, I will try not to. Like, I'm not going to draft 2 quarterbacks with the same bye week, right?
Yeah,
I'll be aware of that, because then
you got to be. I think that's number 1. That's 101. Don't do that.
Don't take 2 quarterbacks with the same bye week. Beyond that, if there's a player that I think is going to do well and I really want to draft him, I'm not worried about the bye week.
And, look, I know we talk about it sometimes. Like, I'm fine. Like, look, you don't want to lose. There's only 14 weeks in the regular season, right? You don't want to give games away. But I had a team last year where, like, on one of the 6 bye weeks, I was picking up, like, bums to put in my starting lineup because all of my dudes were on bye. And I was like, you know what? I know I'm gonna get annihilated this week. But then the rest of the year, I'm sitting pretty with my full team while all of you guys are dealing with buys. So like, I'm not opposed to going that route either.
Yeah. Although, look, schedule makers, we appreciate you sort of lightening the week 14 bye weeks, but there are still 3 weeks with only 2 teams on a bye. Like we can tighten this up a little bit.
Week 11 is almost like there's no buys.
That's true. Colts and Saints.
Outside of Jonathan Taylor.
And ain't nobody drafting him, so we
like you're right. No, week 11 is not going to be much of a bye week. Although week 7, Ravens Bills on a bye on the same week. Like that's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot of folks.
They're going to be like fan bases, put your swords down for a week.
Right. Basically, that's what it is. It's like we're calling like a social media ceasefire is what that is for a week. Like let's just calm down a little bit for sure. So yeah, there it is. That's the schedule. A lot of fun. I haven't gone through all the videos. I've only watched a couple of them.
I mean, Chargers, they get the crown.
The Chargers is always excellent. There were, Minecraft was popular. I know, they did a Minecraft video. The Colts did a Minecraft video. the Chargers with all the little
That-
Easter eggs.
That's got to
always
be like a
fun.
mortal sin in the social world, right? Like,
It is like showing up in the same outfit with somebody
Yeah.
else, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you did Minecraft too.
You got to pop the collar if you're wearing the same shirt.
So
did your guys' teams do anything cool? I haven't seen either one of them yet.
Rams, they had look. Brenda Song showed up. She knows
Brenda
ball.
Song-
So,
Oh yeah. She was in
yep.
our studio. Yeah. I saw
Yeah,
that.
I appreciate that one. I love the one where she has like basically going on a rant, and then she talks about the Seahawks, and then it basically goes to like a picture of Jared Verse just jumping like this because it's basically what he did to Sam Darnold when he was a Viking. So I cannot wait for that matchup.
it's it's funny. I saw someone tweet recently because Brenda Song, not just a Rams fan, but an LA sports fan.
Yeah.
Which is wild because she was born in the Sacramento area, but whatever, it happens. But
I'm
like,
born in Jersey. Come on, I'm a Rams fan.
but you're not like an all around. I guess you've adopted the Dodgers now because you're out here.
Yeah.
So, all
I
right.
went to my first game, saw them hit like 5 home runs. I
There
was
you go.
very happy about
Very
that.
cool. But I did see like a tweet. It was because it was Brenda Song and her husband Macaulay Culkin at a Laker game, and like she was all super into it, and he was kind of like, yay. And somebody just tweeted, it's like he just looks like the kind of husband who's just supportive of his wife's hobbies,
Yeah.
right? Like he doesn't care about sports. He doesn't have necessarily an interest, but she's into it, and that part's cool.
She supports him because he's a huge wrestling fan because they went to one of the WWE events out
okay.
here, and like he was more so like, let's go, and she was just like, so it's kind of cool that they both share and support each other in their interests.
She might be from the Bay, but I'm guessing she's been in
Probably-
LA.
She's probably been in LA a really long time.
Because Sweet Life of Zach and Cody was a long time ago.
It's very true.
That's how
Yes.
I know she's done a bunch of stuff since. I see her, and my brain immediately is like Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
Yeah, that's like my childhood someone. Like,
Yeah. So that's why. And by the way, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that Kevin McAllister is a fan of wrestling, considering what he did to the Wet Bandits.
The Wet
in defense of his home all those years ago. It sort of makes sense that he'd be a WWE fan for sure.
Marv, poor Marv.
Marv and Harry, man. Like, man.
I just randomly in my head just go never.
It's like it's like a live action Tom and Jerry cartoon is what those turned into at some point. Just dudes getting
The abuse.
getting hit in the head with paint cans and stuff. That's wild.
Tried to kill them.
Always here to take your questions. If you have any, feel free to throw them in the chat. And you have questions, we'll make up answers. But we did get one on Twitter from Michael Bittner, and we all thought this was a good one. As we look at early ADP, is it looking like a better bet taking a shot as an early QB or an early tight end this year? Seems like round 3 is the early QB round. Thoughts? I mean, because it does seem like if you want a QB early, round 3 is kind of where you're going.
I much prefer if I'm going either QB or tight end early, I'd much prefer QB.
Same. Yeah. It only makes more sense because look at all the tight ends that blew up last year that they were nowhere near the top of the ADP. Like we got Zach Ertz, Hunter Henry, and Johnny Smith, fantasy relevant, and then the mid rounds, you got David Njoku, who has been a top 5 tight end these last 2 seasons, and he's not going in the first 5-6 rounds. So I'd rather, go quarterback at the, the 3rd spot if I have to.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, well, I was going to say, maybe I go the other way. And I say that, though, as I did a mock draft earlier this week, and I did take Jaden Daniels late in the 3rd round. And I'm fine with that. Yeah, no, I love the pick. I'm fine with it. But, I don't know that I'm all bad on a 3rd round tight end. Like, if I'm getting Brock Bowers in the 3rd round, just because I can find another good quarterback in round 5, 6, 7, I don't know if I feel the same about the tight ends that are still on the board at that point.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
I just maybe part of it is I feel like Brock Bowers is going to be a 2nd round pick, and I hate using. I'm not using a top 2 pick on a quarterback or a tight end.
Not doing that.
But
Yikes.
with the QBs for me, I know for a while I was like top 5 is totally great, but now I think it's top 3 for me. Like I think it's Allen, Lamar, and Jaden, and if I miss out on those 3, I'm just fine waiting on QB, and I'll take Justin Fields. Like 4
So you're out on
rounds later.
Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, I'm starting to do like my prep for offenses, for rankings and stuff like that, and I'm focused. I'm also gonna be doing stuff for insiders on each offense, and starting with the NFC East. So like yesterday, I was deep diving these offenses, and I was shocked. Like I watched every single game last year, right? Like week to week, everything. We all lived this. You guys might be shocked by it too. Jalen Hurts didn't throw for 3,000 yards last year. He didn't throw for 20 touchdowns. So, like, he needs those double-digit touchdowns to return that elite value. And I know he's done it 4 years in a row, but to me, it feels like he is more dependent on it than ever.
Well,
15 tush pushes. That's
yeah,
why.
I was gonna say, if
14 touchdowns.
if the league ever decides that they want to ban the tush push,
Which we find out next week, the spring meeting, maybe.
which I don't think it's gonna happen. Two, it shouldn't happen. Just leave
should.
it alone.
Just take it. Take it away.
This is a moment in time, because you had to deal with it. This is a period in the league's history. Like, it's not gonna last forever. Just figure it out. But if that goes away, Jalen Hurts does take a massive, massive value hit.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
For sure.
But even if it doesn't, like, there's what if he rushes for 8 instead of 14? You know, like that's a huge.
Oh, they're
difference.
gonna troll. He's probably gonna put up 20 this year if they granted that they're gonna keep it. Like they're just gonna keep abusing it. Like it's one of those things.
Yeah, for sure.
They ran the ball over half their plays last year too. Like they're just not, and it's Saquon, and it makes sense, right? Yeah. Like, but that when you're getting such little pass and then Joe Burrow is the opposite. Joe Burrow doesn't run at all. That's why for me the top 3 are, I think, the cream of the crop, because you're getting the passing results and the running results, and you don't really have to worry about either.
Well, I'll say this: if the Bengals' defense is as bad as we think it's going to be, especially if they don't figure out something with Hendrickson, Joe Burrow might throw the ball 700 times.
First to 70 wins in all Bengals games.
Basically. This comment from Shorty: I picked Mahomes in the 3rd round last year because we have a 6-point per touchdown league for QBs. Dumbest pick of my life. Never again. Well, last year, I'm not gonna dunk on you for it. I mean, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Like nobody knew that Mahomes is going to have a frustrating season. I mean, we just didn't know. Like it made sense.
Though. Like on paper, it looked nice. Like before, the season started with Hollywood and Rice and Worthy and Kelsey, I guess. But more so, like that's still pricey for me though. That 3rd round for Mahomes, nah. Well, I can see in the 5th.
That was sort of the asking price for Patrick Mahomes. I mean, right? Because we still sort of believed in the offense and what have you. Again, like so much of fantasy analysis is hindsight. Like, we look back, we're like, man, I'll never do that again. It's like, well, but you had a reason for it. There was logic for it. It just didn't happen.
I thought we were going to get a bigger discount on Mahomes than we currently are. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, at the end of the year, everyone was like, he's not a top 10 quarterback. He's not even a QB1 maybe. And like, he's going QB 6, 7, and like that's where I have him ranked. I think it's appropriate, but I just was hopeful to get.
But here I am getting Bo Nix in all these best ball drafts in the 8th and 9th round, and I'm like, that's like a 4-round discount, and I have Nix over Mahomes. So like, it's just that real life factor of him being Patrick Mahomes. You're not even getting that. Yeah. You're not getting that return.
It's muscle memory. It is. It's the muscle memory thing again. Like we can't quit the name Mahomes, and so that ADP is gonna, it's gonna
I will argue. I know I'm the Mahomes guy, which is crazy to me.
Which is
but
wild,
like,
right?
His upside after the top 5 is unmatched by anyone else.
It's because of his actual talent, but it's not the offense mirroring his talent and upside that I'm willing to gamble on in the 3rd round. Like,
no, I'm not taking him in the 3rd round, 100%. No. But I understand why after the top 5. Like, it's my logic. I just didn't think like. Well, he has finished as the QB1 with over 400 points just a couple years ago.
I mean, so much of this too, though, is his receivers staying healthy. Right? It's getting a full season out of Hollywood Brown. Yeah. It is getting a full season out of Rashee Rice. It is hoping that Xavier Worthy takes a step forward. It's hoping that Travis Kelce can stiff arm Father Time for one more year, because that certainly didn't look like the thing. It looked kind of bad at some point. So we'll see. Question from Joe Saviano. Well, Drake may be a cheat code.
Oh boy, Florio,
the floor is yours.
A cheat code? I'm not going to guarantee that, but it's in his range of outcomes because he's you saw last year, right? Like, he's mobile. He's a good athlete. Last year, we saw more of him using his legs to extend the play and make some crazy like sideline throws and stuff like that. I think we've all saw the physical talent. But what stood out to me, and I don't think gets enough talking points, is Gerard Mayo at one point late in the year last year straight up said the quiet part out loud. He was like, Drake May would be running more if we were competitive. He was like, we know we're not winning these games and we're not playing for anything this year. So our number one priority is getting him reps and keeping him on the field.
Yeah.
That if the Patriots are competitive this year, which I think they will be more than in years past, he could reach another level as a runner as well.
Facts.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at Drake May's season, and it was one of those like you kind of had to be there sort of moments, right? Because if you just look at the numbers, there's nothing about it. It's like, oh, like I think I looked at games that he started and finished because there's like a couple games that he started and like one I think he had a concussion and had to leave. Another game was like it was like week 18. I think they let him play like the first drive or whatever and then benched him. So games where he started and finished, only averaged like 220 passing yards. He had, I think, 15 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Like the numbers on their face weren't particularly great, but when you watched him, you got it. You understood why the Patriots spent the number 3 pick on him and what he can be. Now, the next question is, can they actually build that wide receiver room? Because that's been a problem. Look, that was a problem for the Patriots even during the great years. Right? I mean, Bill Belichick was not great at scouting and or developing wide receiver talent. They sort of ran into, Wes Welker. He was a Dolphin that came over. They kind of ran into Julian Edelman. They picked up Randy Moss for a year, but they never really developed wide receiver talent. So like we'll see if they can do that now. But there's reason to be excited for sure.
This has been their best, I would say, wide receiver room, like across the board. I mean, Kyle Williams, Stephon Diggs, the names are there, but more so you're looking at this offense as a whole where the run game is exciting as well now. Like it's been boring on multiple like positions. Like it's been boring at tight end, even though Hunter Henry led them in receiving yards last season, but it's Hunter Henry. Like he's not that charger hitting that high ceiling that we all expected to do, but I feel very optimistic about Drake May just being that the pieces around him are actually exciting now. Like there's actually something there that he can actually hit that high ceiling. Like I would not be surprised he finished as like a top 12, quarterback inside that top 12 somewhere like flirting with top 10. But being that, we're still having those question marks on play calling. How is this really going to look? Like, how is he going to adapt to McDaniels' adaptive, offensive play calling and all this other stuff? But I'm willing to take a shot on him. Like Florio's been kind of like getting me excited about Drake May a little bit more.
You have to reach because Florio's going to take him if you wait.
So. Oh yeah, definitely.
Fields and May going to be my top 2 most drafted QBs.
I was about to say he's probably going to be like the guy that's going to make like a cool, like clever joke about his team with a May somewhere in his name creatively.
I'm not that dude. I don't change. Most of my teams are just Team Florio. Like I'm lazy when it comes
I used to be that guy. I had 2 girlies and 1 cup for a very long time. Like on my championship belt that year I won, it says 2 girlies and 1 cup.
That's funny. I used to, for a while, I would pick like a theme and I would name a bunch of teams kind of around that theme. My favorite was the year I did a bunch of Breaking Bad team names, right? Ooh. So I had like Los Pollos Shermanos with a picture of Richard Sherman. I had Skinny Pete Carroll. I had a couple of them. I had a few of them that were sort of Breaking Bad themed for a season. That was kind of fun. So I don't know. Maybe I was thinking we'll do an Andor theme or something like that.
Severance.
Ooh, do a Severance theme. That's true. Innies and outies. Don't be surprised if the Patriots win the division. Vrabel can coach. He gets the most out of his players. I see Florio frowning.
This is what I say every year. And I said it to the Aaron Rodgers Jets, to the Tua Dolphins, to all of them. We have reached the point where until another team comes and wins the division, it belongs to Josh Allen. Not even the Buffalo Bills, to Josh Allen. Like, it is his division, and you got to rip it from him.
Who's the closest, though? Who's the closest of taking that crown?
The Patriots and Jets are wild cards, right? Because I could see both of them being competitive this year. But if I had to pick, I'd probably say the Dolphins because they're just more
Yeah.
established.
The Dolphins have more. I think they have talent up and down. They just they just can't figure it out.
Yeah.
So
They don't like each other.
And Mike McDaniel, I love him as a coach, but man, he cannot beat the Bills.
Well, and this may be a do or die year for Mike McDaniel.
Oh yeah, they're about to hit that red button.
Like if it doesn't happen this year, I mean at least make the playoffs.
Like,
They
dude,
have
he
to at
lost the
least
dressing
make the
room.
playoffs.
Like he's basically lost the dressing room. I'm sorry.
Here's the sad part though, like
What's his face?
if you gave him like Drake May, he's probably running that, or like any of these other young quarterbacks in the last year or so. Like, no disrespect to Tua, but like when your QB misses a full month, like most seasons, it's really tough to rebound from that.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it's gonna be. I'm with you though. I think the Dolphins are at least on paper the next best team. I also think at this point, I think I won't say it's Bills fatigue necessarily. It's not like how people feel about the Chiefs, but it's like like in the NBA, right? You really could give Nikola Jokic the MVP pretty much every year, but it's like people are like, I don't know, let's and not that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has been bad. I mean, he's definitely worthy of it, but I do think it's a little bit of like, yeah, we're kind of tired of giving it to Jokic.
No
all the time.
disrespect to SGA, you watched like as someone who has watched this series, Jokic is the MVP. I know he's not going to win it.
He's not going to win it.
He's coaching his team on the sidelines,
right?
I think he might be the most valuable player ever.
Which, by the way, I know this isn't necessarily an NBA show, but like the Nuggets fired their coach like a week before the playoffs started, and like they still have a chance to get to the conference finals. Like that's
so maybe he was the problem.
The clip of he might be the Knicks head coach next year, but I think Tibbs has saved his job. But the clip of Jokic just screaming at the bench, and even the coach is watching him. I'm like, dude, like what are we doing here?
And then after the series is over, Jokic is gonna get on his horse and ride off into the sunset again, like he always does. All right, that was fun. Let's get to the actual thing that we showed up here for. The film festival. This year we decided we were going to do Netflix action movies. But first, I'm sure you guys saw the photo of the Raiders movie that's going to come out, the Madden movie.
Nicolas Cage.
With Nicolas Cage as John Madden and Christian Bale as Al Davis. When I first saw the picture, a friend of mine put it in one of our group chats, and I was like looking at my phone. I'm like, I didn't know what it was. I thought Pete Carroll had been stung by a bunch of bees. I was like, what? I'm like, what is happening here? And then I realized, like, oh, this is for that Madden movie with Nicolas Cage. There it is. Nick Cage is John. Look, he looks like a bloated Pete Carroll.
He bloated for sure.
For sure. And then Christian Bale is Al Davis. Which, look. If anybody can do it, Christian Bale can do it. I just want to know if he pulls off the Al Davis accent, which is very unique.
Probably could.
I'm sure he could.
But if it's Christian Bale,
knowing
how crazy, he probably locked himself in a room for 2 months and did nothing but watch old Raiders stuff.
Just watch old Raiders stuff. Watch old Al Davis press conferences.
Mannerisms. He's probably got it down pack.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So, but yeah, in case you guys are curious, it is a movie basically about John Madden and his evolution from, football coach to, video game mogul to just broadcaster and pitchman and that sort of thing. Very fascinating life. I would say this. With Nick Cage in it, it could either be great or it'll be terrible, but it will be entertaining.
Nah, it's going to be great. Everything Nick Cage touches is great to me.
Out of curiosity, I was like, "What has he been in like a slump lately?" Like, I don't remember any big recent Nick Cage movies.
He's doing a lot of movies because he's got debt.
His IMDb is like, oh my god, he's got like 12 movies in the last 2 years.
Yeah,
The last one I saw was that family one. What is it called?
Family one, the retirement plan. I don't know.
No, it was like, dang it, I have to find it, but keep going.
But like because he did Long Legs, which is like a horror movie that got decent reviews. I mean, I'm looking through these. I haven't even heard a lot of these.
Are they like straight to streaming movies?
Some of them are.
My dude's pulling a Bruce Willis, and he's just making like
Mom and
100
Dad.
movies.
Mom and Dad is the name. I watched that one on Amazon Prime.
I have no idea what that is.
It's a crazy movie.
He's been doing a lot of movies because he needed cash. So
Nick Cage, you've been a world famous actor for like 30 years now, man. You shouldn't need cash.
No, because like apparently he buys ridiculous things. Like
Nick freaking Cage, man.
He spends money on ridiculous things.
Face Off 2, the sequel.
Oh man.
Honestly, I'm surprised he hasn't started remaking all his like just sequels to all of them.
I'll watch Face Off 2 100%.
Will you?
Yes.
When's the last time you watched Face Off?
A couple months ago.
Really? Because we watched it for the film festival a couple years ago, and I was like, yeah, it's a rough watch. It's a rough watch.
I gotta find where I ranked it, but
I'm gonna take his face off. Like it's a rough watch for sure.
It was of that summer we watched 15 movies. I ranked it 13th.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was like I hadn't seen it in years, and we went back and watched it for the festival, and I'm like, ooh, this was.
Wait, where was Last Action Hero? That was the last one I recommended.
I think.
You're gonna be sad because that was 14. And
14.
15 was Armageddon. I know some people love Armageddon, but not me.
Yeah, that was another one when I went back and watched it again. I'm like, ooh, this was tough. This was not good.
We watched that and Independence Day back to back, and I was like, yeah, one of these blows the other one out.
Yeah, for sure.
Those together. Wow.
But since we're on the subject of action movies, we did watch Havoc, which was actually the film festival selection for the week, starring Tom Hardy, Forrest Whitaker, Timothy Oliphant. There it is. Written and directed by Gareth Evans, who also directed The Raid Redemption, which is a movie we watched last year and all enjoyed quite thoroughly. The premise is simple. People are involved in gangsterism, and Tom Hardy has to save them. Right?
Basically.
That's basically it, right?
Yeah.
Gareth Evans is not one for like involved plots or anything like that. I'll say this: there was more like plot development in this than The Raid. Like The Raid was like, here's a building full of bad guys, go get them. Like that was it. This had a little more plot and character development into it. And honestly, I didn't need it.
I was confused at one point because I love Tom Hardy. He's an awesome actor. He kills it in Peaky Blinders. I was like, okay, his character did something really bad. Mm-hmm. But like they just show like little points of it, and I'm like, either show me or just let me assume he did the worst. You know, like
yeah.
It was a good movie.
They don't really clarify that. They also go through a whole thing of like trying to show us that he's kind of a bad father, but with no real
start the movie off
with no real payoff, right? Like I
didn't realize that, but yes.
The movie, the movie takes place around Christmas. It's like literally Christmas Eve, and he's like buying terrible stuffed animals from like a bodega or something, right? He's like trying to wrap them in newspaper to get something for his daughter for Christmas. And then they go through the whole movie, and like one of the other cops that he's been working with is like, "Hey, I'll deliver the present to your daughter," and he's like, "Yeah, don't do it. I don't want to ruin her."
Yeah.
Christmas. I'm like, we went through this whole thing. And she didn't even get the gift that you spent, $30 on. Like you bought like 5 different stuffed animals for $30, and she's not even gonna get them. Like, what was the point of all that?
But so many days went by in the movie, and like he never even attempted to like. Where did Christmas go?
But didn't even try.
Yeah, good point. Also, like he wanted out, right? Like he didn't want to help the mayor anymore. So that problem was handled. He had it where he could have just walked away and he was like, no, I need to get caught now too. Like, dude, you should have just turned yourself in at the beginning of the movie then.
Right.
Who's thinking that?
I did think, because like he says at one point to Forrest Whitaker, who's running for mayor and is obviously a big shot and seems sort of crooked in whatever big city, whatever unnamed big city that they are in.
Gotham.
It's not New York. I was like, this is in New York.
It seems New York-ish, but like if you look, all the cop cars just say police. Like it doesn't say a city name or anything like that. It definitely has a New York sort of vibe to it. But he says like, when this is all over, I want you to put your son on a plane, and I'd never want to see your face again. And I'm like, he's running for mayor. Like how are you not gonna see his? Because even if he doesn't win, like he seems like a big enough personality in this town that like he's still gonna be around.
The billboard says, "I built this city, and now I'm gonna clean it up."
Yeah. in the end, that part sort of works itself out. So
All the bad
you know,
people died. Yeah.
a
All the
lot
bad
of
people in the movie died.
some of
I
the
did
good
like the
people
change of
died,
heart
too.
from the mayor. He went from 1 second like I will kill my my son's girlfriend to like I will die for them in the matter of like 5 minutes.
And
Spoiler
just
alert, I guess.
in seconds for sure. The other part of this is at least half of this movie was filmed during an earthquake. There's a lot of shaky camera. Like it's just all over the place. It's doing
It's like
that.
very fast movement and stuff like that. Like,
Right. I'm just like, it's okay to keep it still and like let us enjoy the shootout and see what's happening. A lot of shaky camera, lot of blood. Like I want to know what the blood budget was on this show or in this movie. Because there was a lot of like those exploding blood squibs and people just like literally getting hit by bullets and bursting into blood.
it's like a Mortal Kombat movie.
Kind of was.
The bad guys make the shooters in Raid look like marksmen. Like
Yes.
they were 4 feet away from them at one point and just like spraying the floor.
It's
Like,
like stormtroopers from Star Wars, man. Just couldn't hit anything. The other thing is that we got a lot of the wacky waving inflatable flailing arm tube man guys when getting shot. Like a lot of guys getting shot and just doing
In
this.
slow motion.
Slow motion
How is that
over and over
nostalgia
again.
right there?
dude, the one guy in the scene when the basement gets taken or whatever, he's just like he stands up and I'm like, all right, what are you gonna do? And then he just a million. Like I'm like, it felt like Denzel at the end of Training Day.
Right.
I said
it
Ro-
also this
Murphy.
movie. They definitely watched Four Brothers before making it. Like numerous scenes, I was like, "Oh, this looks like it was taken straight from Four Brothers." Like the part where they're all in the house hiding behind the bricks, and I was like, "Well, that wouldn't hold you." But then also like, there's a scene where they all just like kind of meet up at the end, and like everyone's just having like a dramatic walk-in, and I was like, "Yeah, that seems pretty familiar."
90s. 90s.
It was nostalgic. I'll give you that. I enjoyed it. Like it's one of those movies that you enjoy for what it is, you know? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Because at some point I just like because at some point I was just like, wait, who exactly is chasing them and why again? Like I'm like, you know what? Don't think about it.
you know, there's a lot too many gunfights when you're hearing nonstop shooting, and I'm like, yeah, I can look at my phone anyway. Like,
So many people got ripped. Like, oh my god! Like, I was so excited to show Sabrina the movie because she watched Ray with me, and like she was just waiting for the hallway scene. Like the fact that she knew, like, oh, there's gonna be a hallway scene, there's gonna be a big fight, and that's exactly what happened in that nightclub. Like, it was incredible to watch again, though.
Yeah, for sure.
I owe I didn't know his name until you said it, Marcus. Timothy Oliphant.
Yeah.
Oliphant. I owe him an apology because the whole movie I was like, damn, Danny Cordray has a career path change. Like, because that's all I know him as is the salesman from The Office.
That's funny. Yeah, no, he's done a lot of different things. He's kind of, been around, had a pretty lengthy career, but yeah, he got to, play a dirty cop in this one for sure.
And like the typical dirty cop where he's like, I'm gonna go, but like, I'm gonna show you how dirty of a cop
Yes.
I am. Like,
Yes.
He went over the line.
Repeatedly.
He for sure made it clear.
Habitual line stepper. Absolutely. He was. Hey, Nelson. Nelson must be new to the cheat sheet. We appreciate you jumping in. He says, "Bring it back to ball talk." No, this is the back half of the show where we talk about.
Oh yeah, this is the film festival.
This
where
is
we
the film
just talk
festival.
about- yeah.
We talk fantasy at the beginning, then we switch over. But we do appreciate hanging out. Like, come back, hang
Yeah.
out with us. Just understand.
watch
that
the
back,
movies with us.
Ball
Then you
question.
can.
Just understand the back half of the show is gonna be. It's
What
it's
you
May,
guys
man.
should do is when
May.
we announced, it's not like we show up and we're like, hey, this week's movie was this. Like, you guys should watch with us,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you could be giving your thoughts in the comments. And
You can all participate in that sort of thing.
Havoc.
oh wait, is that? Oh wait, it's a bring. I thought someone in the comment was just
was
announcing
breaking-
a
was
huge
breaking-
major.
We thought Mike Lopez was breaking some news in the comments about
I was like, hold up, I didn't get that notification.
right, yeah. No, this
Wishful
has
thinking.
this has not happened. I think this is a Raider fan hoping that it happens. But as for now, Trey Hendrickson still a Bengal.
31
Yeah.
teams would take him.
Although he says he's not going to play on his current deal, so maybe he holds out. We'll see. We'll see if John Spytek
Oh no,
can
22
bring him
million.
to Las Vegas. sometimes it's not about the money; it's about the principle of it, and it is sort of feeling like.
Yeah.
So the thing I will say, and like this is what I always remember in these situations, on one of his contracts, Ricky Henderson said to the A's or whomever it was, I want to be paid $1 more than the highest paid left fielder, right? It wasn't about the money. It was about, basically saying I'm better than all the other left fielders, and I want you to prove it by it's not like, I need $100 million. It's like I just want $1 more than this guy because I feel like I'm better than this guy, and it's kind of an ego thing. So,
I think it was A-Rod had it in his contract that if anyone ever got more money than him, the Yankees had to up it so that he would remain the highest paid player.
Wow.
I think he had that in his.
It is. It's an ego.
But what if his
as much
play
as anything.
declines? Like what? That is crazy.
It's like Mr. Deeds. If you play bad, can I pay you less? No.
True.
You don't hear a lot of people dropping Mr. Deeds references.
I love Mr. Deeds, man. I think it's one of the more underrated Adam Sandler movies.
I haven't watched that one multiple times. That's the one I haven't just.
I can quote that most of that movie.
That's funny.
I know it's
all right. So on Havoc, would you watch Havoc again? LaQuan, I'm sure you would. You probably just have it like.
You've watched it twice already.
3 times. I had to show Sabrina.
Wait. So you watched it twice on your own?
Yes. No, I watched it once on my own. I watched it with Sabrina, and then I watched it again on my own with Sabrina coming in to recap.
Oh, okay. I respect that.
All right.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies like if it was on and I was like flipping through the channels, I would put it on. I don't
because it's
see
Netflix,
myself.
That's never gonna happen.
Yeah, like I don't see myself being like, let me open up Netflix and throw Havoc on again.
So my goal for myself in this film festival, if we're gonna do Netflix action movies, is to find a Netflix movie that I would want to watch a second time. Because I don't think I've ever seen one that I was just like, yeah, I'll watch that again.
Because aren't they kind of made just
to be one-off?
They're very disposable.
Yeah.
They are very, very disposable. But that leads us to what I think should be our next movie. And I believe Gavin had recommended this last week or 2 weeks ago. Extraction. Yeah, which not only has one sequel, but apparently is getting a second sequel very, very soon. There's going to be an Extraction 3. Well, I think it has a 2025 release date, so I don't think it's come out yet. But Extraction 1 and Extraction 2 are already out. So I guess we should just see where the whole thing begins with Chris Hemsworth. So that'll be our film festival.
You know what I love about Netflix movies?
What's that?
They're all sub 2 hours.
They are, like they get you in and out pretty quick. And I think they sort of have to. Like you have to get to the point if you're a Netflix movie because at least at a movie theater, you're there, right? You made the effort to get up and go out and sit in the theater and watch this movie. So you're going to stick it out for people I know leave on bad movies, but you stick it out for a while. Like a Netflix movie, if it's bad or slow, like you can easily just hit the back button and go do something else. So like it's got to hook you real quick. Before we go, I had a thought the other day on the Tuesday show. We kind of got into it at the end about fandom and sticking with your teams and that sort of thing, and I went on a little bit of a rant. So I thought about this for you, LaQuan, and this is not in any way meant to be like an insult or a shot at you, but I feel like because you were talking about like, hey, why wouldn't you just stick with your team? Like I've been a Rams fan, and what I realized is that for you as a Rams fan who grew up in New Jersey, like the Rams as a tangible thing weren't ever real, if that makes sense, right? Like you weren't going to Rams games. Like, because I was talking about how like the Rams left LA and people stopped following them, or the Rams left St. Louis and people there got upset and didn't care anymore. Because like for you as a Rams fan in New Jersey, you weren't in a situation where you were going to Rams games consistently, right? Like you weren't seeing the Rams. I guess if they came to New York, I guess you could see them. But for you, for you living in New Jersey, it didn't matter if they were in St. Louis, LA, Mexico City, wherever, Narnia, Wakanda. Like it didn't matter. Like you were just following them from wherever. And so I would love to see, and like this is all anecdotal, would love to see just kind of like the feelings of people who follow teams that they don't live near, and their feelings on a team's move. Because I feel like if you don't live near the team, like if you're a Raider fan in Orlando or something, like them moving from Oakland to Las Vegas probably doesn't hit you the same way because they're not real, sort of like real.
When there
you.
was a time when the Bills were being talked about leaving Buffalo, and I mean, I know I'm from New York, but I'm from the city, like 8 hours away from Buffalo. I wasn't growing up going to games and stuff. I was still upset. I was like, I don't know if I would root for them the same, but it would be a lot different if like the Mets or Knicks were taken from me because I was going, especially the Mets. Like I grew up in Shea Stadium. I was there all the time and stuff. So like, yeah, I get your point. Like if the Bills left, I would have been upset for like a year maybe, and then I probably would have been like, all right, well they're just as far from me now as they always have been.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that way about the A's. Like had I still lived in the Bay Area, I would be way more upset about the A's. I'm pretty upset about the A's and bleep John Fisher and all that kind of stuff. But having lived in LA for so long, it didn't hit quite as hard. I still hate watching them play in a minor league ballpark and that sort of thing. And
it'd be like now, LQ, if the Rams were taken from you now,
right?
Because you go to games and stuff.
Yeah, it would definitely be a lot more emotional, I think, for you if they picked up and moved like back to St. Louis or something.
That would kind of piss me off, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. See, there you go.
All right, I think we're getting somewhere. I think that would piss me off. Yeah.
And now
how mad would you be if they became the New Jersey Rams?
You know what? I would be very prideful. I'd be like, you know what? You guys are trolling me because I actually was a little bit like, man, I can't take that short flight to St. Louis and the Edward Jones Dome. Like I've watched games there. I wanted to see what that experience would be there. And then they went to LA. Then I thought about, I was like, well, they're going back home. I actually had this whole thing growing up of wanting to live in LA, and then being here is still mind blowing. Cause like, it's one of those things. If I'm in LA now, I'm expecting them to stay forever in LA, which kind of looks like that's what's going to happen.
Sure. That's what they said the last time too.
Listen, there's no reason for them to leave now. Where are they going to go? Nowhere.
St. Louis, baby.
Back to St. Louis.
Right.
Back to St.
Yeah,
Louis.
right.
I mean, the Raiders
St. Louis hates them.
The Raiders have gone from Oakland to LA, back to Oakland to Las Vegas. Like
hey, maybe they could be the first international team. That's coming.
Yeah.
Well, the Jaguars, I got them pegged to be the first international team to be in England because that's basically their home base now.
Probably. Because you talk about the Rams. I once had a chance to interview John Hamm, a.k.a. Don Draper, and he is from St. Louis. I remember asking him, like, so are you a Rams fan? And he's like, well, not really. He's like, growing up in St. Louis, he's like, we have the Cardinals, but they left to go to Arizona when I was pretty young. So I was never a Cardinals fan. He's like, so we didn't have a football team. He's like, and then when I moved to LA, is about the time the Rams picked up and moved back to St. Louis. So we were sort of crossing paths. So he's like, he's like, I'm not really a Rams fan. Like we were never in the same space at the same time. So it just never happened.
They hate him. They were like, wherever city John Hamm lives in, we're not playing football.
We're not going there.
Speaking of John Hamm, though, if you guys have Apple, Your Friends and Neighbors, fantastic show.
I've watched the first couple episodes. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Friends and Neighbors.
Your Friends and Neighbors on Apple TV. It's John Hamm, sort of like if Don Draper hit Hard Times.
Yeah, it's great. I really enjoyed it so far.
So it's a lot of fun. Definitely.
Alrighty then.
All right, that's enough. That's enough nonsense for this week. We'll be back with you on Tuesday talking about, I don't know, some other nonsense. We'll see what happens over the weekend, and we'll kind of build
rookie
a show
drafts.
around that. We're doing more rookie drafts? Are we doing more rookie
drafts? I don't know.
Drafts?
I'm still in a few. I'm hoping to wrap up this one because we've been drafting since the NFL draft has ended, and people will not.
That was legitimately 2.5 weeks ago.
I should actually look and see if I'm on the clock.
It's like the back end of the third round, and we still got the fourth to go. I'm like, please just pick.
I don't know about you guys, man. The draft feels like a solid year ago. Like that feels so long ago already.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll be back next week. And then, of course, next Thursday, back again here with the cheat sheet. We appreciate you guys jumping in, hanging out, and participating and all of that. Little update on Extraction. The Russo brothers, who did the last couple of Avengers movies, apparently wrote it and directed by a former Marvel stunt coordinator. So that would also explain why they got Thor to be in it as well. I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. So,
nice.
So shout out to Gavin for giving us that information. But we'll be back with you next week here on the cheat sheet for our producer Gavin, for LaQuan, for Mike. I am Marcus. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you again real soon.